Hey there, greetings everyone. Daniel Lowrie from Antisyphon Training, and I'm back with another installment in our Networking Fundamentals series. Well, guess what? Today is going to be a great day because we are talking about security. That's right, the security stuff, the fun stuff, the really cool things that you get out of bed for and go, you know what, this is going to be a good day. It's going to be a day because we're going to talk that security business today. How do we keep networks secure? What are some of the things that we can throw in the fire just to make sure that we stay out of the weeds when it comes to attacks and vulnerabilities and things like that? And sometimes it's actually a whole lot easier than you would think, at least in theory. Maybe the practice of it could, might push you a little bit, but understanding those concepts and those tools and those techniques that you could use, you're probably going to go, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense. I get it now. And ultimately, you're going to see a lot of this means don't do the things that are going to make you insecure, right? Because half the time it's just us opting into security, actually purposefully saying, I'm going to do the secure thing because that's not on by default. Let me make that happen. All right, let's get to it. We start off with this. I've got this thing to kind of help us as our guide that I've created, the Network Security Controls, a visual guide to securing your network from the basics to the advanced defenses. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a hacking course or anything like that, or even a proper SOC, blue team security kind of thing, but you'll be surprised at how much some of this stuff goes a long way in those job roles. Let's start off with this easy stuff, a strong password policy, right? You're going, duh. You would think that that would be the case, but you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people out there that do not understand what that means. Ask your average Joe and Jane, ask your C-levels, ask somebody, what would you define as a good password? How long should it be? How many characters? Should it have a mix of upper and lower case? What kind of other character sets should we use? What do you think is reasonable? You'd probably get surprised a little bit. Someone going, maybe like 8 or 9, maybe 10 characters. Well, really? Is that what you think? Right? And because of that, because we do have people out there that don't realize the importance of very strong passwords, we tend to get ourselves in trouble. So it's simple but crucial, right? We see it right there. Use a combination of letters, numbers, and symbols. This is a common practice when creating passwords. Avoid common words and personal information. There are some people out there that just read that and went, I'm sorry, what? I should avoid what now? Did you say I can't use words? You know what though? There's some leeway there. In today's day and age, you can build a pretty good password using things like a passphrase. Passphrases are much better because they're lengthy. And if you mix in some character sets and things of that nature, it can get really good. They can be fairly robust. By themselves, they're still relatively vulnerable, so you always want to marry that with some multi-factor authentication if and when, right? But creating that strong password is a first step. Now, what you can do is you can run out the things like a password generator, right? We've got LastPass has one. Here's Norton talking about generating strong passwords. 1Password. Most of your common everyday password managers are going to do the trick for this. They're going to help you out. I'm a Bitwarden fan, so I use Bitwarden. I like them. Let's go to theirs. Strong password generator. I will accept all. Sure. It generates strong passwords and easily store, manage, and share them. So obviously they're trying to get you to use their password manager. At the end of the day, you don't have to use Bitwarden. You can use any of the others. I will not disparage any one over the other, but there are some that are better than others. You do your homework. You do your homework if you're going to use password manager on which one's best for you. Talk to your doctor on which password manager is right for you. But look at this. They have a free password generator. You no longer have to worry about whether or not you're using a strong password. You can use one of these tools and it will help you create a strong password. Because if you're using a password manager, you shouldn't need to know what your password is. You only need to know one password, which is to your 1Password or your Bitwarden or your whatever. Now, we can see this. Your password score is strong with this one. An estimated time to crack is centuries, and that's with a pure brute force attack because there are no words in here. There's a mix of upper and lowercase characters and character sets using alphanumeric. You can even come down here and get even crazier and go, you know what? 14's for like crazy people. I like 37. Bam. How do you like that? How's that stir your tea, right? I can even get even crazier, add more character sets. Yes, it is getting even more robust. But one thing I've started to really enjoy, because every now and then you got to go in there and look at your password and maybe even type it. And this is not fun. But you got this little lovely thing right there. It says passphrase. I can type in cornfield, Trinity, impatient, faction, demystify. I could come down here and say include numbers. And I can use a word separator, which I can change if I like to be something else. Right? It makes it a little more robust, makes it very strong. And if I had to type it for whatever reason, there you go. But that's not going to be found in a dictionary anywhere. Pure brute force is going to take centuries, like eons, epochs of time to actually crack that password. So that's pretty good. And if you're using password rotation, where you change your password, again, going back to the password policies, what is the policy of your password? How must it be with its strength and complexity? And how often do you rotate it? Things of that nature. Can you reuse a password? Lots of fun stuff. All right, let's jump back. So moving on, more easy stuff, hardening. So this is the process of securing a system by reducing its attack surface. Those are but big words, Daniel. We're not but humble pirates here. Yes. No, ultimately what we're saying there is an attack surface are the areas in which a vulnerability could possibly be exploited. So if you have very small attack surface, that means you have few services, you have updates available and applied, you're using well-known security that might actually be there, you're not using defaults, that kind of stuff. And that's what I've got here, like a firmware and OS update, patching vulnerabilities to prevent exploits. Remember I told you this isn't like groundbreaking, life-changing, shocking, like fundamental paradigm shifts of our lives. It's simple things. Firmware updates. People forget about the fact that you have devices that require firmware updates. And that might not just be the push of a button. You might have to go download it, go to the area of the device, and then upload that and say, apply my firmware update. Here's where it is, and so on and so forth. A lot of companies are trying to make that a lot easier, and they've done a pretty good job at that. But if you don't remember to do it, then you are lagging behind. You might be vulnerable, right? So there you go. A firmware update, or even your operating system update, right? Windows, Linux, Mac OS. Make sure you see that little thing that says updates available. You go, oh, let me get that applied, because those are good for you, okay? Changing defaults, right? Never leave default credentials or settings. Watch this. We go out there. One of my favorites, tried and true, Apache Tomcat. Default, I can't spell, credentials. Apache Tomcat default credentials. Well, Apache Tomcat is shipped without default credentials. That didn't used to be the case. It did used to have all these lovely, and if you're using an older version that's not being patched, maybe those defaults are still there. And of course, I'm just using this as an example. Like, let me see here. Let me scroll through here. Default credentials. There's some right there, right? For Apache Tomcat. You could try any one of these and they could be still useful. Maybe an old admin still loves, Tomcat, or Tomcat Secret. I've literally installed Apache Tomcat, which is just a Java web server thing. Don't worry about what it does. And that was the default username and password for it. And many things have default usernames and passwords. Many things have default, lots of stuff. If you can change the default, you should absolutely do that. So get on it. Don't forget. Make it happen. All right, what else do we got? Unnecessary services. Disable anything that you're not using. If you're not using it, why is it on? This just riddle me that, Batman. I don't understand. You shouldn't either. This should boggle your mind. Now, of course, it all boils down to, do I know there's a service running? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if you do know that you started some service, you installed some software, and there was a network service there, you very well may need to go in there and go, you know what, we don't use that anymore. Let's disable it. Let's turn it off, because all it does is open a vulnerability, possibly. We continue on. This is fun. Where are we at? Choose encryption. My goodness. This used to be a whole lot harder than it is now, but it's still a thing you need to look out for. Every now and then you'll run into something that is using nothing encrypted. And you'll be like, why aren't we encrypting this? This is data that's on the wire. It's in transit. This is data at rest. It should be safe. It should be secure. Right? Speaking specifically of networks, this data is crossing the wire. It is moving, right? It's data in motion. So if I am an enterprising attacker, I might be able to dive into that piece of information, those packets as they cross the wire. Maybe I could grab a hold of them and then examine, go, what is this? Let me read them. Let me reassemble all these things and see what it is. If you're using plain text passwords and you're using plain text protocols to move your passwords across the network or to move sensitive information, maybe it's company information, maybe it's personal information, anything, it should be encrypted. There's no good reason not to use encryption anymore. So if you find that a software package or a network protocol that is specifically not encrypted, like if it's transmitting over HTTP and not HTTPS, you should be using HTTPS. You can see right here, like even myself, and just because this is not going anywhere, but you notice that little lock with a line, a red little line through it? That's telling me this is not an encrypted website. There's no encryption. And since it's local, it's not a big deal. It's a static page. It's no big deal. There's nothing sensitive on here that I would care. And that's how we get in trouble, right? Because we forget, and then we do put something sensitive there, and then that becomes an issue. So, okay, we need to be using HTTPS when and where we can, and the most current version of TLS that is available. Right, that's the transport layers. The TLS. I'm horrible with acronyms. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. It's okay if you're as well. But transport layer security. There it is. It jumped in my head. You want to be using the most robust system available, right? Don't use Telnet. Don't use RLogin. Don't use those old and busted protocols. They're all plain text. Use SSH. If you're transferring files, use SFTP or SCP. Something with encryption around it. Always choose encryption. Always opt in to the secure thing. All right, let's jump down and let's talk about Wi-Fi, right? Wi-Fi has some security measures that we can work with. One of them is really interesting. It's called MAC filtering. This controls which devices can connect to the network based on their MAC address. Can be easily spoofed though. Little caveat there. So I can use a tool called like Mac Changer and just change my MAC address. Make it be whatever I want it to be. So I can spoof this. You can get around this. This is a little bit of a security through obscurity kind of thing. But maybe it's something you want to employ, especially in a home network or things like that. It's very unlikely that you've got an attacker that's trying to get around and circumvent your controls. Not that it's impossible. So just beware. Your mileage may vary on how much you get out of this as far as security goes. I've got a wireless router right here. Let me show you what this looks like. And most wireless routers have this capability. We'll run down, we'll look for the wireless tab. And from there, we will kind of scroll in and we'll see some of the wireless security. And I want to say it's right here at the top. Yeah, there it is right there. Wireless MAC filter. I click on that tab. Now I have the ability to choose the band of which I want to filter on. And I can enable MAC filter. And I can say MAC filter mode. Is this accept or reject? Am I making an accept list or a deny list? Basically saying that I'm going to give you a list of MAC addresses to accept as being able to connect to my network, or I'm going to give you a list of MAC addresses to deny giving access to my network. So you choose what you want to do. Ultimately, I think that with this, you're going to do an accept list would probably be the best way to go, especially in a home, small home or office network, that kind of thing. These are the only devices that should be allowed. And then everybody else gets denied if they try to connect to it, which does happen, right? So that's really cool. Have that capability. You just type those MAC addresses in there, right there. AA, and so on and so forth. AA, BB, CC, 112233. There you go. I hit add, and now that MAC address gets accepted. Okay, so if that computer, that device, that host tries to connect to our network through the Wi-Fi, it'll be fine. If I change that to reject, they ain't getting anywhere. They're going nowhere real quick. Yeah, of course, this is just simulation, so no big deal. All right, let's see. What else do we have when it comes to Wi-Fi security? We've got, BSSID Broadcast. Another thing that kind of, a security through obscurity thing. It's not impossible that if you turn off your BSSID, your basic service set identifier, or, what's the name of your Wi-Fi network? That's what that is. And if I go, cool, my Wi-Fi network is called FBI VAN. Connect to FBI VAN. It's awesome. I'm so funny. I'm clever, right? That's your BSSID, or your SSID for short. Now, the cool thing is that you can turn that off. Now, why would you want to turn it off? Well, that way, when people pick up their phone and start scanning for networks, they don't find yours. So your random, average, everyday person that might be just looking to connect to your network, they're not going to see it. A skilled hacker, on the other hand, would be able to elicit those BSSIDs even if they're not being broadcast. They have tools and techniques for making that happen. It's kind of a lot of fun to go play around with Wi-Fi, so I highly recommend you look into how you can do that. It's a good time had by all. Unless you're doing something malicious, don't do that. That's no. Stop. Nah. You build your own APs, you build your own Wi-Fi networks, or you get permission, and then you'd play around with that stuff, which should be easily done. All right, but it's kind of a neat thing, right? It says broadcasting your network SSID makes it easier for users to find, but also for attackers to consider disabling it. Consider disabling it. And to do that, you go in here and you look for, it's probably under general. We're still in the wireless settings. And we'll look through, there it is right there. See that? Hide SSID right there. If we come over here, we just choose yes. And that will hide your SSID. And that would be, for this, ASUS Dunder, I've been programming a little too much lately, _XT8. So there you go. You can choose to do that. You can choose to not. Some people think it's a waste of time. Some people don't. I just want to give it to you as an option that for your home network, your small business network, that could be a viable little thing. Yes, it is security through obscurity, but it could be a little layer of defense for you. Got one more. Let's go check that out. Let's see here. And that is Encryption Protocols. This is where it actually counts. This is the real thing where you need to enable this. It needs to be on, and it needs to happen right now if it's not. And you need to use the most robust encryption that you possibly can. So we start here with WEP. If you see WEP, you run. You run and you don't stop running until your lungs are screaming for mercy, because this is not useful, right? Just know. Easily cracked and outdated. There's nothing to this thing. It was just trying to give you the same level of privacy as you got with a wired connection. Now, we do have WPA2, and that is a very common protocol for encryption, right? This is the Wi-Fi Protected Access version 2. It is better, but it does still have it still has some vulnerabilities to it. I can brute force these. It is possible. Now, if you have a very strong password or a very strong what they call pre-shared key, PSK, right? Then it's going to be tougher for this guy. But you know how when you go to your Wi-Fi and you go, connect to FBI VAN, and they go, cool, what's your password for your Wi-Fi? That's your pre-shared key, right? That's the thing they need to get access to the thing. If it's like, yeah, dog, it's blue, like BLUE, yep, blue. Yeah, that's not going to work. And I, as an attacker, would be able to then capture some packets, do some finagling, gain access, and then I would be able to crack that password, even though WPA2 is a fairly robust encryption algorithm. Now, it has lost some of its luster here lately. So the good news is they came out with WPA3. They said, we better get on top of this, folks. So this is definitely your best option. It provides stronger encryption and improved security. It is very robust. There are some, I think, Dragon Blood attacks, these side chains. Don't worry about that. But it's very, very strong. You do need to be aware of a downgrade attack. And a downgrade attack is where if we came in here and we look for, yes, there it is. There's the authentication method right there. You see that? And you can see it's using WPA2 personal. We have a few different types that we can use. We see WPA3 personal. We've got WPA2, WPA3 personal. We've got enterprise level, which is just a little bit different in how that works, but ultimately using kind of the same encryption scheme. But you see this right here. It says WPA2/WPA3 personal. What does that mean? That means if you can use WPA3, use it. Otherwise, use WPA2. That's a downgrade attack. Downgrade this network to, so I come in with my laptop and I say, oh, I don't speak WPA3. Sorry. You do WPA2? It goes, absolutely. We'll go ahead and downgrade to WPA2 and everybody's going to be happy. Once I get you working in WPA2 land, now those vulnerabilities are something that I might be able to take advantage of. So there you go. That's why you want to use WPA3 if possible. I understand we lived in a mixed world, of mixed environments, and that's totally cool, but you got to be familiar with that. You got to understand. And you want to use these WPA3 attacks if at all possible. Okay, so let's see here. I think we've done a good job here about going through some wireless stuff. Let's see here. Let's get into some more advanced things. And this we're just going to kind of briefly go over because it's more conceptual. We don't have to get down in the weeds on this. Firewalls. You know them, you use them, you love them. Your router can act as a firewall in a lot of ways. You can tell, hey, block this, drop that, don't accept, allow this, don't allow that. We have ACLs, access control lists, to make all that fun magic happen. You can use hardware firewalls. You can use software firewalls. Think your Windows firewall. There's UFW in Linux or IP tables. Firewalls to be had aplenty. So go find you a good one and start using it. Both of those options are fairly robust. So those work very well on your end host systems. But you might want to buy a specific hardware firewall that works on your network and it has its own processor, its own memory. It's much more capable. So depending on the size and scope of your actual network, you might want to go that way. But don't sleep on the software firewalls on your end host as well. All the things you can do is better than just one, right? 2 is 1 and 1 is none. That's how they like to say it. Proxy or reverse proxies. These can intercept traffic, inspect them, filter requests, often used with a web application firewall. We love a good WAF. These are always very nice. VPNs, another great piece of technology in and of itself, has some security wrapped around it because you are creating an encrypted tunnel across the internet. So if I have to move traffic across the internet or in any place I do not trust, maybe I'm in a hotel on their Wi-Fi, something like that. I'm at a Starbucks, I'm at a McDonald's, whatever the case is. I'm on those networks. I want to connect to my VPN because now all the traffic that I'm working with is encrypted no matter what. And that's the kind of nice thing about it. Now, that said, it doesn't stop malware. So if you go downloading malware and clicking fish links, you're still going to get popped. So it can be also its own vulnerability because poor password policies might be in place. Maybe leaked credentials right there, right? This can compromise the entire network because as soon as somebody gets access to some credentials to your VPN, they install a VPN, they connect to the VPN, ask for credentials, it goes, here you go, how do you like that? It goes, I love it, welcome to the network, and now I'm on that network as an attacker. That's no bueno, that's we don't like that. Let's see here, 2 more to go, IDS and IPS, and then UTM, Unified Threat Management. These are really cool, nice pieces of equipment that we typically see on enterprise networks. So intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems, they monitor your network traffic for any kind of malicious activity. An IDS system will only alert you to that activity. It won't stop it, as where an IPS system will actively block those threats. And then a UTM, sounds bad, but it's not. It's a really good thing. Unified Threat Management is a single appliance that combines multiple security functions like a firewall, like an IDS and IPS, like anti-malware, and so on and so on and so forth into one package. Single pane of glass. That's how you say that. Dashboards, really cool. You can tune these things. They're really neat. Cost you a little bit of do-re-mi, but really, really useful in those enterprise networks. That said, there you go. You got some network security hot off the grill. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, you know what to do. Find the like and subscribe, and you just smash it. as one does. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to know when we release new episodes in our YouTube channel. And if you're subscribed, and if you're liking, and you're engaging with the comments, that's going to help us get to more people and go, hey, did you see that cool stuff they're doing over at Antisyphon? You should totally check that out. And don't forget to go to antisyphontraining.com to see what we got going on. Or if you really want to see what's up, check us out at poweredbybhis.com to see everything at the Black Hills Antisyphon Camp, what's going on, what you can get signed up for. Great resources there, so avail yourself of them. All right, kids, thanks for watching, and until next time, have a great day.